right, welcome back, everybody. We're doing these last 3 questions here on the warm-up, and this is going to be going over how to handle a little bit more complicated of a division problem. Notice that we have multiple things in the numerator. So we have a 2-piece here, a 24x cubed, separated from a plus sign with a 28x power 5. So when we do this, we want to divide both of these things by the denominator. So we're going to take step 1, do this little divide here, and then step 2, we're going to use the bottom again to divide the right side. This does look more difficult, but the reality is these questions actually are easier because we have 2 things on top and the numerator is so much bigger than the bottom. The top is always going to win, and what's nice about these questions is we will always have no fraction answers. Okay, we will never have a fraction answer. So let's do this question. What is, these questions normally we can almost even do them in our head. What is 24 divided by 4? Anybody know that? 24 divided by 4? No. 6. So that's 6, and then 3 x's with 2 on the bottom. What's 3 minus 2? 1. 3 minus 2 is 1. And I'm trying to tell you these questions are easier because we don't have fractions. You don't have to worry about, is that x on top, is that x on bottom? When we have these questions, they're just normal questions, no fractions. All right, stay with me, KK. We got here 28 divided by 4. 28 divided by 4 is 7. And then we've got 5 x's, 2 x's. What's 5 minus 2? 3. And again, we don't have to stress about, are those x's on top, are those x's on bottom? Because when we do a question like this, the top is always bigger, right? 5 is always bigger than 2. The top is always bigger. Now, question, we're going to move on. Again, we're kind of going quickly. Number 6 here. Same thing. We have a triple this time on top and still only a single on the bottom. So we're going to kind of do it in, bless you, 3 steps. The first step, divide. The middle step, divide. And the last step, divide. And what's nice about these questions is the top is always bigger. What is 16 divided by 4? 4. And then what is 4 minus 1? 4 minus 1 is 3. And we don't have to stress about it because the top is always bigger. Now let's move on to the middle step. 16 is already finished. Now we're in the middle with negative 12 divided by 4. Negative 12 divided by 4 is, nice job, Josh. I like that he said negative 3. Then we've got 2 x's. And we're going to lose the 1 on the bottom. So what's 2 minus 1? 1. Just 1. And the very last step is negative 4 divided by 4. What is negative 4 divided by 4? It's negative 1. Marcos, you said negative x. I don't know that I'd go with that because we have 1x and we're going to lose 1x. So how many x's do we have? No x's, right? Right here. Oh, my head's in the way. No x. Okay? Because we had 1 and we lost it. 1 minus 1 is 0. Okay? Now, what I'm going to write here, you know, there's a number 7. I'm not too worried about finishing that question. What I'm going to write here on the bottom is this if we have one thing in the bottom, right? That's our process if we have one thing in the bottom. And the reason we're writing this is because we're about to see a question that has 2 things in the bottom. So now let's check out the notes that have 2 things in the bottom. And I told you this earlier today, the more complicated a question looks, the easier it actually is. I know that these questions probably start to look a little crazy, Stay with me, and I promise you these are the easiest questions we've learned all week, which seems kind of crazy, but trust me about it, okay? What we have here is a triple on top and a double on bottom. What is important is that we have two things on the bottom, okay? When we have two things on the bottom, honestly, to divide these questions in Algebra 1, we're not quite good enough to do that in Algebra 1. So we're going to learn a really sneaky shortcut method. And the shortcut method, some people call a butterfly, some people call a broken heart. I don't know that any of those are really great ways to describe it. But let's go with broken heart, I guess. Okay? What we're going to do is we're going to draw. That's about as good of a heart as I can draw here. Oh, it got uglier as we went on. We're going to draw a little broken heart like that. Again, that's kind of hideous, and the reason that we're calling it the broken heart is because we're going to divide these two things, and if you notice, the 2x, which is left alone, the 2x, useless. We're not going to use the 2x. Again, we're using a very sneaky shortcut method here, okay? What is x squared divided by x? Well, we just need to do minus. What's 2 minus 1? Right, so we should have a single x, right? We got 2 on top, we got 1 on bottom, slice, slice. We have just 1x left, okay? So we did this side, check. Now let's do this side over here. Negative 8 divided by 4. Anybody know what that is? It should be negative 2 because you have one negative sign. And you know what? That's it. Question's over. We got the answer. Okay? Now this middle 2 we are literally not going to use at all. Okay? Now the first time we did that it probably seemed complicated, but watch this. Question number 2. We're going to do these first two numbers, and we're going to divide those. 5, is there anything for the 5 to mess with? No, so we're just going to bring the 5 down. It's kind of like 5 divided by 1, which just makes 5. And then look at the x's. We got 2 on top, 1 on the bottom. What's 2 minus 1? Just 1. So we're going to put an x here. And now we've done the first part. The second part is negative 6, negative 2. If you're not sure what these are, I mean, just use Desmos. Click Desmos. Negative 6 fraction negative 2 is positive 3. So we're going to put positive 3. And that is the answer. And did we use this 7 at all? No. Okay? We're doing a very cheeky, sneaky shortcut method. Okay? Now the last thing I want to show you is question number 3, which probably again looks a little bit harder than it did before. And what we're going to do here with a divide is we don't like this sign. This is kind of like a sign for third graders, not a sign for high schoolers. In high school, we use this kind of divide. So we're just going to trade them out. We're just going to kind of rewrite this, 3x plus 1, so that now it looks just like question 1 and 2 did. We're going to be able to divide these and divide these. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 2 x's, but we lost 1 is a single x. And finish it off, negative 7 divided by 1 is just negative 7. Because we're using divide, not adding and subtracting. Okay, these questions, they're cheeky, they're short, they're super simple. Look at how nice the answers are. X, no x, x, no x. None of our answers have x squared. Nice and simple. Everything's on the top, one letter. That is dividing with one thing on the bottom, or a monomial, and dividing with two things, binomial. Nice job.